Homeworthy. I'm Sarah. Welcome to my home in Richmond, Virginia. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Be sure to visit our website, homeworthy.com, to discover amazing furniture, art, accessories, and more, all handpicked by our editors to help transform your house into a home. All of the items are inspired by the episodes you see here on Homeworthy. Enjoy!
Hi, I'm Sara Hillery, and welcome to my home here in Richmond, Virginia, where I live with my family of 5, plus my furry friend Margot, who you will see running around as we take our tour. So my house was built in 1970 by a well-known house. He wasn't an architect, but I would say a house designer of his day, Stuart Turner, and this house was modeled after the Williamsburg Inn. So you will see architectural elements that would look familiar if you were in Williamsburg. My husband and I decided to move to Richmond. We were coming from Houston, where we had 1/3 of an acre, and we thought that was so large at the time, and decided when we came to Richmond to look around that we would go for land. So we picked this house because of its charming exterior. I love the Dutch Colonial architecture. Believe it or not, my husband never saw the house before we bought it. And I immediately, while I was living in Houston, knew that we needed to make a few changes. So I took a black magic marker, and I remember drawing on the walls where I wanted to open things up or remove closets in order to open up this house, because colonial architecture is traditionally a fairly boxy style. And with a family moving in, I needed it to breathe a little bit more and allow for that open flow of our kind of busy daily lives. Welcome to my entry. This is where we greet our guests, and it's also where we start the holiday decorating. Every year I do a different theme, as I mentioned, and this year is the Nutcracker. So we have our fresh greenery, and then to keep it lasting for weeks beyond the life of the greenery, we have also mixed in some faux eucalyptus just to keep it live and full. And then because of the Nutcracker theme, we went a little bit more feminine with our colors this year, and we've got pink ribbons and white mixed with a few of the Nutcracker characters are hanging throughout the garland, just as a reinforcement of this year's theme. But come on through. As you notice, we're walking through. One of the reasons I bought this home was because of the beautiful floors, not just the fireplace. We have reclaimed heart pine floors with the iron nails in them, and you can see where they were put together at one point. This home built in 1970. I think the homeowner really tried to make it feel like it has been here for hundreds of years and not just for the last 50. One of the pride and joys of my entry is this mirror that I picked up when I knew I was leaving Texas. I was very torn about that, because a part of me will probably always have a place in my heart for Texas, and this was a consolation prize as I was leaving, was this beautiful Trumeau mirror. And then I am a collector of unique things, and I love this scallop back pair of French chairs. It was supposed to be a set of 4, but the dealer sold one of the 4, and I bought them anyway, and you'll see another one in my home as we take this tour. But in our entry, in my opinion, should be about you. And because I like to collect things both old and new, one of the collections is the wax seals that we have framed here in the entry. And then if you come with me around the corner, I'll show you what most of our friends and family love best, which is not my collection, but my husband's grandfather's collection of Zippo lighters. Here are the Zippo lighters. These were found in a shoebox in his office, and there were so many that I actually didn't get to frame them all, but they filled up this space nicely, and we tried to create a little pattern while framing it to make it feel fresh and contemporary, mixed in with all of my vintage collections. Tucked away here, we have our powder room. I love this powder room because it's very spacious for a powder room, so you can come in here and hide from children when you need to. But because it's a small space and yet large, we have used wallpaper in here. It's a great string paper, so it's got a really soft hand to it. This vanity is old and original to 1970, and I really toyed with whether I should tear it out or keep it, but ultimately felt like it was really charming, and I needed to keep a piece of the house. So we just topped it off with a clean new marble top, and I found a great mirror and some sconces to sort of dress it up. I have decorated this house fairly simply. I sort of joke with my clients that I need 3 or 4 padded white walls because I look at color and pattern all day just to, let my eye relax. So this house is very neutral compared to some of my project designs. And we've picked soothing spa colors to kind of further emphasize that. Coming from Houston, where homes at the time had taller ceilings in new construction and open and light, I really was trying to bring some of that here with me to Richmond when we moved in. So there's white walls so that the home flows. There's a theme of this light blue throughout so that you can mix and match pieces of furniture throughout the home to change it up depending on how we're using it. And then I've got, I'm an antique lover. Nobody that I know from the East Coast can, walk away and put all contemporary in their house. They're gonna have a mid-century piece if they're modern lovers. But here I've got some colonial, I've got some European antiques. My husband is from New Orleans, so there's quite a bit of French flair that is represented here as well. So this is our living room, and this room originally was a little bit of a bowling alley. So one of the first things I did when we were renovating was to open this up to the hallway. There was a closet here, and this wall was solid, and I felt like nobody would use it if there was only an entrance right by the front door. So now there's a back entrance that kind of connects through the kitchen and where we spend a lot of our time for meals and family events. And so that encourages us to use this space more. And this room, you'll notice, is a little wider, a little calmer. And the reason for that is this is where my husband and I will come for a nice evening unwind, and we'll have a glass of wine or cocktail once the children go down. And then during the day and on the weekends, we have set up a desk in here too so that it could serve as his office as well. But this is also where we put our Christmas tree. And so this year we've got the tree in the corner. We love using velvet ribbons. It adds a great texture. And we also have these chairs that were purchased from a designer down in New Orleans, and I can't say how much I love these. I found them 3 years before I bought them, and they are one of my favorite pieces in this space. But this room has a beautiful fireplace that is very reminiscent of the Williamsburg Tavern that I mentioned, as our house was modeled after it. It has a paneled fireplace very similar to this, and so it's one of the focal features of this space and helps break up a very long room. Behind me, we have a piece that was my great-grandfather's, and it was in his room as a boy. And while it was shoved in the basement of his home, it has a prominent place in my house in the entry living room area because it's very sentimental to me. On this chest, we have a tea caddy here. I am a big collector of boxes of every size, shape, and form, especially tea caddies. I enjoy all beverages, but tea being one of them. And so we've got one displayed here, and you will also see those peppered throughout my house since they come in handy when decorating. They provide a great form as you're trying to create interest and different elevations when laying out your prized possessions. So I'm going to share a fun story. While construction was going on, I knew I had this nice large wall, and I have always loved tapestries and cartoons. And I had the good fortune of finding this one at a consignment sale that was a pop-up here in Richmond, Virginia, while my house was under construction. And I panicked and was like, I know I have to buy this. And sure enough, I brought it home and it fit perfectly. So I had the cartoon long before I ever bought this credenza. And I wouldn't say they fit perfectly together. The cartoon is larger, but you know what? No home is perfect. It's, it's about the stories and the elements that really bring it to life. Piece on the credenza is a headless Venus. My kids think it's absolutely creepy that she's headless. I, on the other hand, find it fabulous. I feel like who knows what she looked like back in the day, and the form is just beautiful. It's marble. It's lived outside for centuries. It's from the 16th century, so it gets a prominent place here on our credenza. As we've lived in this house, the bar has morphed from one room to the next. So here it lives, since this is where my husband and I have congregated for our calmer evening hours. It's a little jam-packed at the moment, but that's because we don't just drink one thing. We like to mix and match and experiment a little bit with our cocktails. And I'll be telling you about our holiday tradition of milk punch, which is a New Orleans tradition that we share with friends and family a little bit later. In order to soften the lines of these very large block items, I've purchased these vintage candle holders that you see on the wall to add just a flair of whimsical and curve to the space. They're a little bit Italianate in their design. I don't know how old they are, quite honestly. I did pick them up at an antique store, but they don't look to be originals. I think they're reproductions, but they work just fine for me. When it comes to the holidays, this is one of my most favorite times of the year. So I decorate for Halloween, we decorate for Thanksgiving, and then as soon as Thanksgiving's over, we get ready for Christmas. I am a big believer in natural greens. However, I will admit that this year we have transitioned. I have a fake tree this year, which is a first in a while. Due to our traveling schedule, we just don't have the time this season. But every holiday, I pick a new theme. And that, I don't know why I do it to myself. I love it. It's crazy. It's a lot of work, but it is so much fun. So this year's theme, we've done the Nutcracker. So we have nutcrackers and ornaments throughout. We've done pinks to play off the daintiness of the ballet. We've got swans on the table for when that scene in the ballet when they're riding in the swan carriage. And it's just a magical time of year. So I don't overdo it, but there is a theme that kind of continues throughout the home. And then we usually hang gold balls, which I think you can see behind me, throughout the main entertaining spaces. Those balls, I had about 250 that my mom passed down to me, so they have scratches on them, they've patinaed, and I just think they've got this beautiful look to them, so I use those throughout the space. But the biggest thing that I do for the holidays is really our friends' holiday party and our family holiday party. And so you have to keep it simple, but you have to have something, so that it feels seasonal and refreshing and festive and fun. And so you'll see some of that throughout the home. In this space, in the living room, because it serves as an entertaining space and a living space when it's just the two of us, we have designed a coffee table and a pair of ottomans, which is kind of a secret trick that I do in a lot of homes because they tuck away neatly to create more floor space when you need it. And then they pull out to provide a wonderful place to prop your feet up while you're sitting and relaxing, or as an extra seat when you need it for guests. Over by the fireplace, we do live in Colonial, Virginia. We would not be very patriotic if we didn't honor George Washington. And so we've got a pair of andirons here that I picked up of the general himself that adds a little bit of fun and whimsy and a nod to the history of Virginia and America. On the fireplace, you'll see we usually deck it out in magnolia, cut from our prolific magnolia trees in the yard. And then I have some little tiny stockings that were made by Becky and Sarah Vizard down in New Orleans. Some have been gifted, some have been purchased. It's one of those things that it's great to collect. They can be used on your mantle. They could be used when setting your table. You can tuck gifts in them. It's just, they're quite handy and beautiful to look at. And no one is alike, as all of the trims are antique. In this room, because it is such a long space and you don't want it to feel like a bowling alley, we have split it up in to little rooms using kind of decorating tricks. One of those is layering a smaller rug on a big rug to sort of highlight an intimate area. So here this rug is highlighting the central area of this room as one space. And we've also moved the chandelier to be centered on the sitting space instead of in the room. So if you were to walk in, you would notice that the chandelier is not centered in the space, but rather centered over the fireplace and sitting area. But this allows us to have a sitting area here, a sitting space beyond where we have our tree. This table behind us has served as a cards table. My kids have played chess there. It also is overflow sitting for when we are entertaining. And I did mention before that this is my husband's desk. So I bought this at a auction, and it's an old Italian desk complete with a secret wig drawer that desks today don't really have. But it's quite a treasure, I think, for us. And because I bought it sight unseen and blindly online, I hoped and prayed it would come in looking decent, and sure enough it did. So we love it. Above my husband's desk, I found it only appropriate. A family member handed us one of her prize collections because my husband is the fourth Julian in our family. So the original Julian has a diploma here from 1882 from New Orleans, and it's kind of an archival document, so it's under museum glass, which is always important, especially when it's being exposed to natural light. But the wonderful thing, not only is it an old document, but it actually has a photo of Julian, my husband's great-great-great-grandfather, that looks very much like him. In designing your home, it's good to have variety. So in my home, I have added variety in the collections that I have. So as a secret or not so secret Francophile, I have a French collage here that I purchased that's a contemporary piece made of paper, found objects, and straws. And I also have this great Willie Gould planter that has a contemporary edge with its pointed corners to contrast the crisp softness of some of these like softer patinas in the room. So that will conclude our living room tour. I'm now going to take you to the kitchen where we spend a good bit of time here in the house. So come with me. So welcome to my kitchen. This was the original kitchen in the home, but we have drastically changed it. The wall and entrance that I just came through was once a solid wall, and this island didn't exist because there wasn't enough space. So we opened up the kitchen to the hallway to capture those extra feet and really make this kitchen feel larger than it is. Keeping things kind of classic and simple with a traditional twist because we wanted to keep the vein of the house. We've got white cabinetry and beautiful marble countertops. The marble was essential, so I am not a cook. However, one of my holiday traditions is to make cinnamon rolls that I do every year, and then I have this special icing, and I actually was testing out a new flavor for it for this year. And I bake them every year the weekend before Christmas and deliver them to friends on Christmas Eve so that they have them Christmas morning. It's one of my family's favorites and one of our friends as well. The secret is in the icing that holds both maple and coffee in them. And it's just kind of like holiday goodness all wrapped into one. I did have a year when the yeast went flat and the cinnamon rolls, after hours of preparing the dough, just never rose. And therefore I had to throw away the whole thing. Lesson learned, do it a little bit ahead of time and test it out first before you make dozens and dozens of them. When we were renovating, it was important for this to be an eat-in for casual small meals like breakfast. So we have an eating area that I'm going to show you next. And that is right here. I love the bay window. It gets the best natural light in the whole house. And because it's small and petite, we have used lucite chairs mixed with this vintage walnut table that I purchased when I was dating my husband. And it was like my first antique. I've been so proud of it, and I've carried it from house to house in our journey together. And here, some kind of an inexpensive art trick. We found these oyster shells in our front yard when we moved in, and I cleaned them up and framed them in ready-made box frames, and they are still a favorite today. So your art doesn't always have to be nice, and it doesn't always have to be expensive. It can be homemade. To anchor this space, I have a jute rug, fairly inexpensive, so I don't worry about it. It has been here for years. It's been well loved, and when it's gone, I can toss it kind of guilt-free with it being a sustainable material, but it helps add softness and keeps this space defined in a room that is multifunction. In our kitchen, we would not be doing ourselves justice if we did not have a coffee bar, since caffeine is what makes this world go round. This is where we have coffee in the morning and a nice coffee in the afternoon. It also turns into a casual bar when we're not entertaining and it's just my family here. So it houses wine and treasures and snacks for the children, but I can't say enough about it. I love it. And then small kind of party trick is to use mirrors in your cabinetry. When you have things back there that aren't so sightly, it reflects light and gives off the look of glass without revealing its secrets behind the doors. But now I'm going to take you into the dining room where you can see that we've got it set up for dinner this evening in our Nutcracker theme, of course. And I'll show you a little bit in here and a few of my prized treasures in our dining room. When I went to school, I originally went to UVA to become a doctor. And I remember being in chemistry lab and just sitting there going, man, this is just not what I want to do. And I have always been in art. I painted murals in elementary schools in the Richmond area as a child, and I love to draw and paint. So I fell back on my artistic route as I was exploring what I would major in, and I have to credit my dad and my mom, who encouraged me to look at interior design as a form of art that they thought I might enjoy, because I was doing 3D art at the time and installations in my art program at UVA, and they thought that would be a natural transition. I love decorating my own home, especially when time allows for it. I just think the reward is worth the work. I can tell you my children just light up when they see the lights and the decorations. They get so excited about Santa. And there's just no better feeling than that, your children's response to it. So this is our dining room. When designing this home, these openings did not exist. There was one small opening right smack in the center. So these doors into the room now line up with the windows on the other side, so that when you're in the kitchen looking through, you can look straight outside. which allows for the dining area to stay intimate and cozy in the center, and then for the surrounding paths to feel light and airy and more spacious. The other thing I did is this home did have a chair railing and wallpaper, and I took it all out to simplify the space, put in these columns and half columns, because I had already purchased these pair of windows that came off an old building in France and repurposed them into mirrors for this room. I had been saving them for many years in my old house, waiting for an opportunity to use them together. And this provided that opportunity. Beyond the windows, I do want to highlight this fun spice rack that I found. It's a French country spice rack. And while it doesn't hold spices, it does get repurposed for cards. After dinner, we pull them out and play a game of hearts many times in this family, and other games that my children know and love. So this year, with the theme being more feminine and light and a little bit more formal, I wanted to contrast that formality by not using a tablecloth and just using Chili Witch placemats for durability, but it still needed to feel rich and layered. And so I have pulled out one of my sets, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your outlook. I have many sets because I am an avid collector, but I have pulled out an old set here that is a little bit of a throwback, along with some of these ornaments that I had also hung on the garland in the characters from the Nutcracker that I've laid out on the table. I always use the fresh greenery. You can't go wrong with the smell that it gives off. This year, because the theme is the ballet Nutcracker and not nutcrackers themselves, we're pulling these swans in from the magical scene where Claire is riding with her prince through the misty river there on the swan carriage. And so that is why we have the swans featured on the table. And we have layered the pink ribbons and the glass balls that I mentioned that are kind of peppered throughout our formal entertaining space with various glassware. We've got some pink crystal glassware for the white wine and these beautiful handmade Portuguese glass tumblers. And all of those layers go into, I think, the success of setting a table, including using a silver set that's been in my family for years. So these tumblers could be used for water. They are also used in this house around the holidays for milk punch, which is a New Orleans tradition and a Hillery family tradition. And it's one of our favorite classics. We start making it around Thanksgiving, and we kind of keep it on hand throughout the season. It is milk and bourbon infused. My husband will many times make his own simple syrup with vanilla bean infused flavoring with nutmeg. It's an absolute delicious treat, and if you haven't had it, I highly encourage you to try it. For our guests tonight, we always serve gumbo, which as a non-New Orleanian, I pride myself on the fact that I know how to make this, not only because I'm not from New Orleans, but also because I am not a good cook. So we do smoked turkey and andouille gumbo, and that is always served to start off the meal with our guests, along with a smoked filet and usually a green salad. So we'll have some green beans. It's kind of our tradition, and I think our friends look forward to it every year. I love this house for so many reasons, but one of them is that it's just very family friendly. I think it's practical. It has spaces that we have turned into multi-purpose spaces. For instance, I'm currently sitting in my living room, and my husband's desk is in this room, so that it's not just the formal room, it's also serves as a study for him. We have our tree in here, so for the holidays, it's where we gather. We also have a bar set up, not that that will stay forever, but while my children are young enough, we can keep it out. And then, upstairs we've got bedrooms for each child that we're very fortunate to have, so they have their own room. And it's in a great area, and it's a great place to raise a family. Okay, so now I'm going to take you to the keeping room, which is one of our favorite places of the house, and you'll see the fireplace I mentioned earlier. So welcome to the keeping room. This is where we spend a good bit of time curled up in conversation with a small group of friends or just family, and also the reason we bought this house. You can see this amazing fireplace. It's actually a working cooking fireplace, complete with a kettle. We joked that we should have a Brunswick stew party here, but have yet to do it. One day we'll do it. But when we light it, you can imagine it's quite a bonfire of sorts because it's such a large opening. You've got to get a lot of heat to go up the chimney in order to draw it up. And not smoke us out in here. But this room was a conundrum when I first bought it. There was a hot debate on whether we should paint the paneling or leave it. I opted to leave it, and I couldn't be happier with that. It's rich heart pine that you really can't get anymore. The graining is so fine, whereas today the pine has, kind of a pretty patterned graining to it. So I am happy that we kept it. It keeps it warm. To contrast that warmth, we redid these custom sofas in a lighter fabric for this house. And we have all of our treasures that we've gathered from travel displayed on these bookshelves, from books to a trip in Thailand where I went antique shopping because why not when in Rome? But this place is cozy. You can see Margot has even made herself at home here on the sofa. She has no boundaries. One day we'll be better disciplinarians, but I don't see that happening in the near future. And then lovingly on this wall, I'm going to point this out because you either love it or you hate it, but I have this ancestral painting that we recently had to have repaired because my sons put Nerf bullet holes in him. However, we lovingly call this Big Papa, and he kind of oversees us as we relax in here. Big Papa is lovingly anchored here with a faux bois console that I purchased in an antique store. I love the idea of bringing the outdoors in, and vice versa, and mixing it up so that it breaks down that barrier. Displayed, we've got some of our favorite books, including one with Thomas Jefferson, a nod to Virginia and my alma mater, UVA, a cribbage set. Always include a little fragrance in the home so that it feels fresh and light, and our guests and ourselves walk away with a scent of what our home should feel like to us. Behind me here, we've got a desk. This was the original bar when we first moved in, and then you can see we moved all of our alcohol to the other room. So this is only reserved for when we are entertaining. We'll fill it up with what we're serving. And then there's a collection here of antique art that I have collected over the years. This one I picked up at a consignment shop. This one I picked up down in Texas. I call it the Godfather because he's got his little ball with the cross on it. This room holding so many of our collections, I'm going to show a few of them. One of them is this series of crests that I have framed, and I have a few more I have yet to frame. I did mention I'm a collector. I always joke that I'm borderline collector hoarder, but because I'm a designer, I get to ride the collector ride more than the hoarder ride. And that probably includes this artwork that's on the floor. I buy things when I love them, not always when I have a place for them. And this one has yet to find a home, but I love it so much I can't exclude it and tuck it away. So he's been sitting here on the floor for us to enjoy when we sit on our sofas. So in this room, we've got many favorite things, but the thing that's probably most used in this house is this chair. It's what we call the favorite chair. We all fight over it in terms of who gets to sit here, my husband, myself, or my children, and of course my dog, which I have many photos of her sitting in this thinking that it's a dog bed. But this chair is perfectly proportioned. for having a glass of wine, but mostly for coffee. This is the morning chair. It gets great natural light in the morning. I have this great camel stool that I purchased to put our feet up and sit and take a phone call, read the news, and get our little caffeine fix for the day. All right, I'm going to show you one more thing before we leave this room, and that is this map that I found in Natchez, Mississippi. What is amazing about this map not only is that it's an antique map of New Orleans, but that it has Julian's family's name on here because at one point they were the governor of Louisiana. And now let's go see the rest of the house. I have a love of antiques that is apparent. I also have a need to declutter. So there's a lot of negative space in my home so that you can focus on the things that we really cherish. And I think you can see, the collections and things that we have on display. We love to entertain, so usually you can see where I've started pulling together a tablescape for dinner, or my kids have even gotten into it most recently, and they do it, which is a lot of fun. But I think you can see everything that we collect and out on display to enjoy on a daily basis, and I think that's how my friends and family know it's mine. So now I'm going to take you upstairs and show you a few bedrooms in the house, so come join me. Let me show you the primary. So welcome to our bedroom. This room originally had 8-foot ceilings, and like any lover of furniture, I had to raise the ceiling to accommodate this walnut chest that I had custom made. To follow the gambrel roof, we sort of created a ceiling line that would represent what would be there if we didn't have this attic above, and created this little nook here by the windows that sort of creates a cozier environment in this room to sit and read and look out over the yard. In this space is kind of where we come and unwind. We sleep beautifully, I would add. I feel like no place feels like home. And I love this room for so many reasons. I brought the headboard with me from my Houston house, and the chests that flank it were collected over time, and the chest on my husband's side, which I will show you briefly, has a record of everybody who's ever owned it. And so we have put our name in the bottom of the drawer as well. But if you were to pull it out, it has who made it and the date, and then who bought it next and their date. And I feel like that sort of storytelling is critical to, creating a storyline and also attaching yourself to your pieces. And hopefully our children will love them too one day. On top of the chest are a pair of antique lights that were made from old iron pieces by an artisan in North Carolina. But I thought I would point out that I have a series of topiaries around the house, myrtle topiaries. And there's a story about this. I'm a fairly stubborn individual sometimes, and I've killed many, so I have saved all of my dead ones as well as the live ones. These have been with me for about 8 months, and so I couldn't be more thrilled. Everybody that I know loves them, but they are a maintenance commitment. You have to water them and mist them and make sure that they are happy little plants, but they provide great light. I love the structure of them. You can tell that they have form and shape, where in contrast to our magnolia leaves over here that are just cut and wily and do kind of whatever they would like to do. It provides that structure and softness. These reading chairs or pair of chairs are from a local antique dealer here, Kim Faison, and when I was doing this bedroom. I knew I needed chairs. I wanted them to have some character. And Richard Stone, who is a local stylist here in town, knows my love of chairs and is always sending me great and fun, fabulous chairs that he finds. And so I can't credit myself for finding them. Richard found them, sent them to me and said, "You need these." And I said, "I do." And Kim graciously let me buy them from her. And then this stump table here is actually an outdoor table. It's cast stone, and I've brought it in because, again, I like to mix that indoor-outdoor kind of division and break down that barrier. Now I'm going to take you into our primary bath, which we have renovated since we purchased the home. And I can't tell you how much I love that we did that. It's one of those things that might be on your wish list and you might be thinking, oh, you know, it's not necessary, but it is a luxury element that you won't regret. So let me show you mine. So welcome to my primary bathroom. I can say, like any good 1970s home, I don't have a very large bathroom, and I wanted to stay within the footprint of what we inherited. And this used to be all one space with a big long vanity over there on that side. The toilet was right when you walk in, and this doorway used to be where my husband's vanity now rests. I was inspired by a trip to Barboursville in Charlottesville and stayed in the Octagon Room in the 1776 Inn that was surrounded by bookshelves. And so I've decided to do myself or to provide a bookshelf of my own to sort of capture that memory. And we love to read. So therefore, we have a nod to that, our stay in Barboursville. In this bathroom, because it's small, I kept it light and bright and white. And so everything is a Dolomite marble. And we've got a vintage antique tapestry chair peppered in to contrast that kind of cool white and sort of anchor it, along with draperies that are by Palm Orleans in New Orleans. She is not only a fabulous textile and wallpaper designer, but she's my sister-in-law. So I love supporting her and using her patterns that are very reminiscent of my husband's New Orleanian tradition. And then one of the things that I will show you is our individual vanities, because that was my husband's request. As you might imagine, I am a creative and neatness is not my strength, whereas he's a bit more structured. So we have his and her vanities so that everybody loves their experience in this bathroom, and it keeps the peace. When designing your own home, if you have small children or pets who, like us, have no boundaries, it's always wise to incorporate fabrics that will endure and lend itself to being cleaned. We also drink red wine, honestly, so we have a lot of seagrass rugs throughout our house because they wear like iron, and I love the natural element of it. It's not for everybody because it does have a texture, but I love them. But beyond decorating your home, when it comes to decorating for the holidays, one of my tricks, especially when my children were very little and crawling, was to put plastic ornaments that look like glass balls at the bottom and things that they can easily grab and play with, that you won't be running after them saying, "Don't touch that, ah!" And that's what makes your home family friendly and beautiful. Okay, before we leave, I do want to point out this piece of art that I absolutely love. Julie Neal down in New Orleans is known for her lighting, but on the side, she is also a very talented artist, and this is one of her paper cutout pieces. I love the detail in it. She hand cut all of these from books and old documents, and I just love the pattern making element, the layered element, and the warmth that it provides. It's very fun and whimsical, and I think it adds a great contrast to some of my other art pieces in this space. Now I'm going to take you to my daughter's room. Welcome to my daughter's room. This is her special hideaway. She's got a great sized bedroom for the age and size of the house. And because she's the firstborn, she gets this one with her own private bathroom. But this room is a nod to her love of animals and has morphed over the years. We have our own fabric line, and this is our Virginia mammals pattern that we've used that's got squirrels and deers and bears that are local to the East Coast, but largely Virginia. And we've got artwork in here that she loves color. As you might can tell, every color of the rainbow is just perfect for her. But she loves to read, and she's even decorated her own bookshelf. This used to have a bunch of other books on it, but she decorated it for the holidays. Everybody's so excited about Santa and the magic of Christmas here. And across the way here, this piece of art was purchased, and one of my favorite pieces. It reminds me of the St. Louis Cathedral, although I don't think it is. It's a piece by Mara Wolf done apparently during Woodstock. And then coming around, we've got a homemade piece of art that I did when we first moved in, and it has kind of lived there and probably will stay for a while. But my daughter gets her own tree. She's quite lucky, and we've got kid-friendly ornaments. She's older now, so it's not as important, but I mentioned earlier about getting plastic ornaments for kids to be safe, and these have been collected over the years, and every year I let my children go with me to the store and we pick out one new ornament for this tree to help decorate. And then this dresser is a piece that was mine as a child, and it was a cherry wood, and we refinished it in a bright flamingo pink color so that it felt reminiscent of my daughter's personality. And we've got a scarf here that is reminiscent of a masquerade ball, also a nod to New Orleans, but we love to dress up, we love costume, and I just love the vibe and whimsicalness of it. And then we have this horse. She rides horses, and even though this is an Asian-inspired horse, she was in love with it and had to have it at a estate sale that we went to together. When it comes to designing my daughter's room, you can imagine that I have some influence over that and want to exercise some control, but I do let her pick colors. I do let her have a say in what goes in here. I think the magic word is balance and editing. She has a very spacious walk-in closet that I'm not going to show you today for obvious reasons, but in there is a collection of her treasures that she'll pull out from time to time, and it helps mix it up. We do a lot of changing up of art in this house just so that it feels fresh and lively and transitional with the seasons. Home to me is a place where your family and friends feel welcome. You feel like you can, sit down and unload from the day, curl up with a book, or get energized from the space around you to be creative and cook in the kitchen, or have a glass of wine with friends. It's just a place where everybody can come and feel comfortable for being themselves. Thank you so much for coming, Homeworthy. I am going to let you go because it is now time for me to get ready for my Nutcracker dinner. Happy holidays, and thanks again.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.